सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
COVID-19 or coronavirus, how long has it been since we even mentioned that on Cut the Clutter? In fact, it's not in your headlines, it's not top of your mind. We know that infections are still carrying on, particularly in the US and some other countries. China, we don't hear about very much, but we presume something is going on. But this has fallen off our radar screens or from our mind spaces, but it's now back. It's now back. Never mind that it's not back in your headlines because our media, most of us are focused or obsessed over other things. What's happened on the other hand in the US media is that Wall Street Journal this Sunday, American time, so we saw it just yesterday, Monday, our time, Wall Street Journal broke a major story. And that major story says that almost 6-7 months after a 90-day inquiry involving eight of the topmost American intelligence agencies. That inquiry was ordered by President Biden. That concluded that they couldn't conclude anything, that they were inconclusive. They couldn't say whether the virus had escaped from a lab. Was it man-made, not man-made? Was it escaped from a lab? The only thing they said was that right now we don't have any evidence to show that this was a human-made virus or this was a result of some kind of a bioweapons research or of gain-of-function research. But they said they couldn't say if the virus escaped from a lab. Was it a zoonotic transmission, which has been the case with many of these viral infections, that is some virus jumps from one animal to another animal, then to humans. Usually that's what happens. But in this case, they didn't know, they weren't sure. Now, with this Wall Street Journal story, and now it's buzzing in the American media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, they've all followed up on it. US Congress is abuzz. In fact, today, US Congress is holding a hearing. They are questioning this. Then, because Republicans have got the House now, they've also sought a subcommittee meeting on the 8th, that is next week, again to look at these questions because the US Energy Department. Now, you might ask me, what does the Energy Department have to do with this? And I will explain to you. US Energy Department has come with a new finding. And that new finding is that they believe now, from whatever evidence they have, they believe now, they are more inclined to believe that the virus had escaped from a lab in Wuhan. Now, they don't say which lab. Wuhan has 2 labs, Wuhan Institute of Virology, the big one, but also Wuhan Center for Disease Control, which actually is located not far, quite close in fact, from the Huanan seafood wholesale market, from where it has been widely presumed that the virus jumped from an animal or maybe from one animal to another animal because that market sold live animals and to a human being because first cases were discovered around that area. But remember, some people also believe that first cases came up because of some mysterious illnesses among researchers, scientists working at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and that these were suppressed by Chinese authorities earlier. So those questions remain. Now, what evidence has the US Energy Department got, fresh evidence, to come to this conclusion? We don't know, and they don't tell us because they say that they cannot reveal it to public. But what they have done is, because as we told you in October 2021, that group of 8 intelligence agencies and National Intelligence Council in the US, they had given their report to President Biden. That report can be periodically updated by any of the agencies involved in that research if they find something new. So Department of Energy now has updated that report to say that they are now more inclined to believe that this was a virus that escaped in a lab incident. They're still not saying, nobody is saying it's a bioweapon. Nobody is saying this was a virus created as a gain of function research. Also, although there's been a lot of discussion and debate about it. We also had a Cut the Clutter episode on this, of which I'll share a link with you. A lot of people watched it because lots of experts had spoken out. Right now, they are not saying that. They are saying that we can say we are more inclined to believe that this is a lab escape, but they are saying it with low confidence. What is this low confidence, high confidence? Now, as things stand, US Energy Department has said that they are inclined to believe this came from a lab with low confidence. The FBI is the only other agency on this side of the debate. The FBI has said that they believe that this is a virus that escaped in a lab incident with moderate confidence. So low confidence, moderate confidence, high confidence. On the other hand, 4 other intelligence agencies involved in this research, they still maintain that they believe that it was not a lab escape, that the virus transmitted in a zoonotic manner from an animal to another animal to human beings, right? But those 4 also say so with low confidence, not with moderate confidence, not with high confidence. So this is something that, in fact, I also learned just now, that the American intelligence agencies have this way of saying low confidence, moderate confidence, high confidence. We need to understand that. So Wall Street Journal broke this story. After that, as you would expect, Republican Party got very excited because the origins of coronavirus have been a very polarizing issue in America. In fact, in global debate also, but particularly in American debate, because Donald Trump at that point started calling Wuhan virus, Chinese virus, and he started making all kinds of accusations against the Chinese with no evidence at that point. It's later that Joe Biden then set up this investigative group involving 8 of America's 18 intelligence agencies. The important thing is 2 agencies which say with low confidence, one says with low confidence, one with moderate confidence that this was a lab escape. 4 have said with low confidence that this was not a lab escape, it was a zoonotic transmission. Among these, CIA is not counted. CIA so far, America's preeminent intelligence agency, has not given any view of what they think about where the virus came from. Now, this Wall Street Journal story has not been denied by anybody. In fact, if anything, the Energy Department has confirmed that they have updated the national finding of October 2021. The Chinese spokesperson, the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson has spoken out, as you would expect. She's spoken out in anger. Her name is Mao Ning. She's spoken out saying, stop defaming China. Scientific issues should not be politicized. So this story has been confirmed. What this has done is, this has given Republicans, House Republicans, and now they control the House, this has given them a new energy. So House Republicans are now asking every intelligence agency to double down on investigation and research. And as I mentioned to you earlier, lots of hearings are now going to be held. Now, what is it that happened at Wuhan market? The fact is that immediately everybody suspected that this virus had come from the animal market because they sold live animals. It's a humongous market, very large market. And there's been a history in China of zoonotic transmission of viruses from live animals that were kept to be sold or that are eaten, that are part of the food chain. So initially the presumption was that this has come from some variety of bats, but the kind of bats which harbor coronaviruses grow no closer than 1,000 kilometers away from Wuhan. So how did they get to Wuhan? So maybe some bats infected some other animal got here for selling. But the fact is that 3 years and 4 months later, that is 40 months after formally the first patient was found in Wuhan, 40 months. And presumption is, wide belief is that there were cases before that also, couple of months before that also. In 40 months, all of the world's scientists, the mighty WHO, all of these American labs and American intelligence agencies together have not been able to find out either the animal where the virus is harbored, which means the primary host, or the vector, the animal into which this virus may have jumped to then jump into human beings. So if it's a bat, that bat hasn't been found. If it's an animal, a pangolin, as it was suspected, that pangolin hasn't been found. So it is this failure to identify any animals. Logically, you would say it's zoonotic. But in 3.5 years, you should have been able to find some animal. This inability to find an animal, or in simpler terms, to find this virus in any animal and then to analyze it and to say, oh, got it. This is the virus that killed 7 million human beings in the world. Nobody's been able to do it. So what kind of animals are these that after infecting so much of the world, most of the world, these animals are still hiding? And because nobody's been able to find it, and because some of the other institutions which pretended to investigate this, they have such low credibility, WHO in particular. WHO carried out a research in which they said, oh, we don't believe that this jumped from a lab or there's anything else to this virus than animal to human being transmission. The fact is that the Chinese controlled WHO in such a big way, and also they packed that WHO committee. In fact, more than half the members were packed into that committee by the Chinese. So that had no credibility. That's why this remains one of these continuing stories. So the other thing that adds to the mystery is that the Chinese, by the time they sent their own scientific teams to Huanan seafood wholesale market to pick up samples, by that time their police had washed and sanitized that market several times over. And you know what? Every live animal that was kept in cages in that market to be sold had been killed already. So there was no possibility of finding this virus in any animal. Now, was it done in panic, right? People do overreact in panic. Was it done in the way the Chinese would deal with such a situation? Or was it done to hide evidence? We don't know. Or was it done to create a smoke screen? So tomorrow you could say that, look, this must have escaped from my market. And if you say, I found no evidence there, you would say, oh, that's because we carried out sanitization. The animals were not there. So questions will not be raised as to how safe the Chinese labs are, or how did this virus come into being in the labs? Was it actually a natural virus, or was it a result of some experimentation? So it could be anything. But the alacrity with which the Chinese cleaned up that market, sanitized it, killed all the animals, that is added to the mystery. Now the other thing is that many of the cases that were found initially, scientists who believe that this virus came from this animal market, they say they lived close to the market or they had been to the market. Then the same scientists say that we found two episodes of the spillover. That ek baar mein some people got infected, then afterwards some other people got infected. There was a gap between that. Those who don't believe in this story, they say no, in fact, two spillovers tell us something else. Two spillovers tell us that the infection was spreading, and as the virus has spread from one set of people into another set of people, the virus has evolved over time. Now, as we told you, this is very polarizing in American politics. So, October 22 last year, Republicans on the Senate Health Committee, they issued a statement after investigation. So, they broke away. It was not a bipartisan statement. The Republicans issued a statement that this release of the virus was most likely the result of a research-oriented incident, right? And they also said that there have been persistent biosafety problems at Wuhan Institute of Virology, and this may have happened as a result of that. Wuhan market sample, they say, whatever samples you found, the samples were picked up maybe from some refrigeration equipment, some from the floors, some from the walls, some virus was picked up. But they say that this virus probably was left there by human beings visiting the market, not by animals. Because unless you can find an animal which harbors the virus, you cannot say it came from animal. Now, the fact is that there's been a lot of debate and controversy over something else that we talked about in that earlier episode of Cut the Clutter, of which I told you I'm sharing a link with you, that Wuhan Institute of Virology and an American organization called EcoHealth Alliance, they had sought US Department of Defense funding to do gain-of-function research on coronaviruses. That gain-of-function research was to make modifications of the virus, in this case to make the kind of modifications that will make it much more transmissible to human beings. Now the motive may have been that, look, if we can find this fellow first, then we can develop vaccines, etc. So tomorrow when nature creates it, we are ready. But the fact is, the Department of Defense did not approve that funding. At the same time, Wuhan Institute of Virology and American National Institute of Health, they did some work together, although they claim that they did not do any such research on dangerous virus. But the American National Institute of Health acting director, Dr. Lawrence Tabak, he just told a congressional committee, that he didn't know about any other such research being carried out at Wuhan Institute of Virology. So once again, for clarity, none of the American intelligence agencies have said that this is because of gain-of-function research or because a bioweapon was being developed or that there was some new virus being created. But some are now beginning to say that this could be a lab leak because of bad safety at labs. Now, Department of Energy. You might ask me, what has Department of Energy got to do with it? Now, in the government systems, many things have mysterious names. So, US Department of Energy also has a division, and that's a story we picked from the Washington Post. They have a division, a super secretive division called the Z division, Z as in Z division or Z division. That consists of a large bunch of scientists, top scientists, and this division was set up in the 60s. And this is the division that warns the US president or keeps the US president updated about threats of nuclear, chemical, and biological weapons, especially from China and Russia now, but Soviet Union originally. So it is that division which has come up with new evidence. What new evidence that is, we don't know because they won't share it with the rest of the world, but they are the ones who came out with this new evidence. And US Department of Energy actually has a large number of labs, including the famous and storied Lawrence Livermore labs. So they rely more on scientific findings instead of espionage or spying. That is what the other agencies do. So what this has done is it has activated the Republicans. There is going to be a flurry of Senate and Congress hearings now. So among the Republicans in the forefront of it is Mike Gallagher, who is the representative from Wisconsin, who says, look, to stop the next such pandemic, we need to know where this one began. So he's the one who's pushing this. Next week, DNI, that is Director of National Intelligence in America, Avril Haines, she'll be speaking to the Congress and briefing the Congress on worldwide threats that America faces. So it's inevitable there'll be questions raised with her about these new Department of Energy findings. FBI, on the other hand, which as we told you, says with moderate confidence, that is even higher level of confidence than Department of Energy, that this escaped from the Chinese labs in Wuhan. FBI employs microbiologists, immunologists, a National Bioforensic Analysis Center, which is run at Fort Derrick, Maryland. That was set up almost 20 years ago after an anthrax outbreak. So they collect information from there. They also do some intelligence collection or spying, but they won't tell you what they've got and where this has come from because their spokesperson is directing all journalists all to Avril Haines' office. So now let us wait for Avril Haines' testimony next week. But this story and this revelation and this finding by US Department of Energy has once again opened up this can of viruses.